Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I have a video for you that's going to be very deeply personal, where I talk about why I don't, or at least didn't, listen to music until very recently. My channel has this kind of crazy running theme right now that it all meshes into. I've got the Mixer giveaway, I did the Akimbo Renetti video, and the Akimbo VR pistol video with music, and now a discussion about music. It's kind of rare for me to have a trend like this on the channel where like a whole week of content meshes together. It's going to be a deeply personal commentary that doesn't particularly relate to gaming or anything else. And the second part of this video, the follow-up after you're done watching, is linked down there below. It is a Mixer highlight where I actually share my musical playlist for the first time ever. I've never done that before. It's been very, very private for me. So check that out when you're done listening, because this story is going to be very, very crazy. And again, it's just something that for the very first time I'm willing to share with the rest of the world. For most of my life, if you ask me what genre of music I listened to or what songs I liked, I would tell you none. I don't listen to music, never have, probably never will. And this doesn't mean listen to music often or infrequently. It means like never, ever, ever. And throughout my life, when I would talk to people about this, the majority of them kind of took offense to it. I think that they couldn't wrap their brains around a person that didn't like music, and instead viewed me as being unwilling to share due to not trusting them personally, or just being like kind of a weird, like crazy attention seeker person. There's a few people that took it at face value as me being a person who just literally doesn't like music of any kind, and typically judged me as a crazy person. I've been called psychopathic, sociopathic, autistic, brain damaged, soulless, demon, vampire, untrustworthy. I've had a number of people tell me that it is absolutely untrustworthy to not listen to music regardless of anything else. That's a massive, scary red flag. And my close friends viewed this as being rather odd overall and just kind of made fun of me about it for years. Probably the better of all the options, and rightfully so, because it's strange. I even got 2 Fs in college because I didn't listen to music on my elective classes. I had an elective music class. It was like musical theory or whatever. It's like one of the freshman level classes. And in this class, your first assignment is to write an essay about your favorite song. It's a fluff class. It's an easy class. And what I wrote an essay about is why I don't listen to music, which is roughly the contents of the commentary you're watching right now. And I wrote in there that one of the reasons I'm taking this class is because I would like to learn more about music, and maybe I'll find something I like. The professor took great offense to this and just gave me a big fat F. I tried to talk to the dude about it. I tried to sort of, weasel my way out of it. Went absolutely nowhere and just kind of stunk. The second one was a public speaking class. It's like Public Speaking 101, where you get a crash course on how to give a presentation. And for their easy first fluff piece, once again, they're like, you need to make a presentation about your favorite musical genre or your favorite song. And I did basically the same thing. This was like the same week. This was like back to back, and it didn't go over well there at all. I think I might have gotten a D on that one. The professor pulled me out aside and told me how inappropriate it was to lie in class and stuff like that. So not very fun. And in most cases, people would ask me, well, if you don't listen to music, well, how does it sound to you? And typically I was indifferent to it, but would occasionally find it to be annoying, loud, off-putting, or very rarely make me angry. And there's a reason for that we're going to get to. You remember that whole like teenage phase that you went through where you had your favorite band and all their albums and their posters and listened to all their music? I didn't have that. Remember the teen angst music where, your parents didn't get you and you listened to music? Didn't have that. Feel good songs? Didn't have that. Discovered a deeper meaning in song that enlightened your mind somehow. Didn't exist for me. And I've been told over and over in my life that I'm supposed to just sort of like feel music somehow. It's supposed to come into me through my chest and make me feel it. That when the chords hit in a certain rhythm and that one note plays just the way you thought it would, you could feel it vibrating in your heart. Or this song is overwhelming with this particular emotion, XYZ. No, never, literally never had that. I could never, ever feel music in any capacity or any musical emotions. Throughout the course of my life, I had hearing tests done to make sure that my ears were working properly, because there were quite a few people that thought maybe, you have a hearing problem, Brad. Maybe it's muffly in there and we can fix that and then you can enjoy music. But no, I don't have hearing problems. I had musical tests to see if I could identify tones and patterns and construct music if necessary. I did that. Had a CT and brain scan to make sure I wasn't brain damaged. Nope, still doing good there. And yeah, we're going to talk about why this happened to me, why I spent almost my entire life unable to enjoy music in any capacity, But first, I want to tell you why I fixed it, because it helps piece it together a little bit, because I'm recommending a musical playlist and a musical stream while at the same time telling you don't listen to music. So we probably need to tell you that yes, there was a solution. About 4 or 5 years ago, I tried cannabis for the first time. I went to Oregon with my wife, and I tried it in a medicinal way for depression. And the very moment I took that first hit, the part of my brain that understood or liked music just unlocked. It just opened up in ways that I could not have ever predicted. And you know, I make jokes on stream about weed and stuff like that, and her, it's harmless and whatever. And typically that's true, but do keep in mind that cannabinoids can permanently alter your brain structure. This is typically very minor and also rarely harmful. In most cases, beneficial to some people, makes them calm down, but it's still permanently altering your brain structure. I can't say that enough. So keep that in mind before you try anything in life, any drug, any food, any supplement, caffeine, whatever. All these things do affect your mind, and you need to be prepared for the consequences of those changes. So we're going to move back to that. But the very first time I smoked, that part of my brain came back to life for the first time in maybe 20, 30 years, and I could feel music again. And what was weird is it permanently unlocked too, because a lot of you are probably saying like, okay, so like Drifter listens to music only when it gets high. Like I can kind of feel that, but no, like I could be sober and it still works now, which is kind of odd. And even though, you know, I'm here in Texas, I'm a very long way from being able to enjoy marijuana because it's not legal here, though. Up until COVID, I was able to travel to California all the time for business, but it still had a change in my brain that allows me to feel music. It's probably honestly muted compared to what most of you are watching feel, but it still works. And it was kind of amazing, yet also scary and weird for me, because I spent my entire life telling people that I didn't like music at all. And in many cases, I was viewed at the time as a liar, a troll, an attention seeker, a crazy person, or something very negative like that. Now that it works in some capacity, and I want to talk to people about music or tell them about it, the responses I would get were mostly like, well, I knew you were lying, now he wants attention, yeah, he's all over the place, drama llama, whatever. And it also didn't help that I was completely undeveloped musically, and still am in a lot of ways, because I spent the majority of my life with nothing. So starting now, I have no preference for any genre, no preference for any band or instrument. Oddly though, I will say that if I can hear an instrument and very easily identify it, I find that to be incredibly annoying in a song. I don't like the music to blend the instruments quite well. I don't have a particular style or cadence or vocals or any pattern to describe. Like, there were some people that would hear this, not many, and they would be like, oh, well, you're a blank slate? Well, we're going to make you like metal, or do you have a genre, or we're going to try to get you to do it. And it didn't take. I couldn't jump on any train, so to speak. It wouldn't happen. And I think one of the reasons is that I'm so far behind developmentally as far as music is concerned. I don't even know what I like, and I also don't have the musical vocabulary to describe why I like a thing that I do, and that's where the mixer stream comes in. That's what the mixer stream is, the songs that I do listen to when the mood strikes me from this blank slate. But let's back up a long way and try to figure out exactly what went wrong. We're going to talk about what happened here, and this is where the commentary is going to go off the rails, a little bit dark and very, very personal, but I hope you're here with me, and I hope you'll learn something, right? So humans are supposed to like music, right? It's one of those fundamental inherent things that we're born enjoying. A lot of animals do. We enjoy patterns. And I want to clarify again that I don't have brain damage or hearing loss or any kind of disorder that I'm aware of. I'm totally fine. I was actually born liking music. What happened is I just got shut down very extremely hard as a kid, and also associated music with some extremely negative things. Up until about age 7 or 8, I was a very musically inclined child. I listened to a lot of music. I had my own collection. I had my little like Walkman and headsets and stuff. I was making my own music videos. I was making my own home videos. I was learning to express myself. In a lot of ways, you would probably call me very flamboyant. I was very emotional, very expressive. I was telling stories. I was writing stories. I was making music and art and all these little childish projects, largely terrible stuff, but still doing it. And then my parents had a very nasty divorce, and all of my freedom to express myself absolutely went to hell in a handbasket. The custody changed a few times over the years. I'd bounce around a little bit, but there were 3 primary parental groups that I had. I had my father, my mother, and my grandparents, and I would kind of move around from each one, and each one of them had some very unique problems regarding music, all quite opposites sometimes. And I promise not to talk bad about these people again, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep this next bit very, very vague, but we're going to talk about all three groups. One of these groups had an extremely strict view of art and film and music, society, dress, haircuts, all these values. They were the type of group that valued normalcy above all other things, that you should like a thing because it's normal, and being normal is the highest value that you can attain. So anything that's slightly deviating from whatever at least they saw as normal was shunned as something of an abomination. And by shunned, I mean violently shunned, like chaotic, out of control, child abuse level kind of stuff. And before I go any further with that, I do want to clarify that as a child, I was very rarely a victim of physical child abuse. That did happen in small doses. It would have happened more, but at a very young age, I learned to live by and obey the rules of any person that I lived with, whether they were sane, drunk, sober, high, off their rocker, just no matter. If the rule was you take your socks off your feet and put them on your face and that's how you spend your night, that's exactly what I did to avoid chaos. And it made me a very jumpy and sort of unhealthy person. So I don't want you to think I just got beat all the time, but what I did to avoid that was also pretty unhealthy. So for this first group, being caught listening to anything that wasn't normal or anything that they didn't approve of would be like an instant DEFCON 5. Like nukes are launching, like chaos is coming. You need to shut this down. You need to put this away. You need to end this immediately, and maybe you can avoid some chaos. So I didn't really do much of anything. I made sure not to be seen listening to anything, hearing anything, expressing myself anyway. I just put all that away. Well, kind of like the opposite though. If they listened to something that they liked, I had better like it too, and better not have anything bad to say and have a lot of things to say about why it's great and how it's great. I was told what to like, how to like it, and how and when to express myself with very little wiggle room in between. Anything not on the list and done in a timely manner would cause absolute chaos for young Drifter in his life. Moving along, the second group we're not going to talk about too long. The second group of parental figures wasn't particularly controlling or bad in this respect. I could listen to or do whatever I wanted or express myself in mostly however I wanted. But they were quirky. They were overall jumpy due to some past child abuse of their own, and there were weird little tics and things that would just drive them crazy and push them over the edge into like explosive violence town really, really fast. Some of those were loud noises. Some of those were loud self-expression, teenage chaos, things that were unappealing or left-wing, like a lot of music is, were all on that list. And it was extremely unwise to do any of these things while living in that house. So I just didn't. I just mostly let it go and didn't bother too much. I had a little bit of stuff. I'd like watch movies and stuff that would be, pushing it. But music was an absolute no-go. And self-expression was an absolute no-go. Just danger, danger. It was safer to just avoid all of it. Now, the last group probably did the most damage overall to my young developing psyche, and was the most problematic because they were the exact opposite of the other two, which were more controlling, right? It was unlimited self-expression, but more demanded, mandatory, necessary self-expression. Demands to try new things, and you have to like them just because they're new, and it would just be like, show me a thing, like a song, and then the questions would be, well, tell me how you feel now. Do you feel it in your soul or your heart or your mind? How strongly do you feel? Does it make you feel close to God? What emotion is it most like? Do you like this more or that more? If you were to make up a dance for this song, what it would be like, and I'd, do all of those things. It was fun for a while, but this could go on for hours talking about the same song. And as a kid, I would bounce back and forth between have no opinions, no expression, do exactly as you're told, to like deep 5 levels in like existential, explain why you like things. So bouncing back and forth between extremes like that, obviously not very healthy and not very stable. At this same time, I also had a problem child phase of my life. It was 100% due to the parents divorcing. It was a pretty nasty divorce, a lot of split ups, and a lot of, as you can tell, unstable living environments, right? At this time, I was violent, very physically violent, very actually violent. It was quite bad. I was a firebug. I had bedwetting issues later into childhood than I was supposed to have. And this is the dark triad, by the way. I like tortured little animals and stuff. That was it. Torturing animals, starting fires, and bedwetting was like, this was like the 90s, and they had this Pop Science where I remember my parents watching the VHS with me about why I was going to be a serial killer when I grew up in life, and why I should be, they literally sent my parents like a VHS tape about why I should be institutionalized, which was crazy. I had a short temper. I was suicidal, which is very odd for a 7-year-old. That's not normal at all, but also extremely manipulative, smart, vengeful, conniving. I was a very, very bad child. You would not want, if you were a parent, you would not want to have me, because I would flip back and forth between violence on others and self-destruction and like surprisingly clever manipulations. Not good, right? One of the many things that would eventually be blamed for this was the music, which at this time in my life, of all things, I was listening to Egyptian rock and roll and late at night gangster rap on the radio. Why I would do that in suburban white America as a kid, no idea. That's just what was going on. These things were instantly taken away from me. All of my art, media, music, and everything was very restricted. Mostly the rap, anything in that regards was completely just crapped on. And during the same time, I went to probably a dozen different child psychologists, got at least a dozen different diagnoses, and a whole host of prescriptions that were in no way healthy for a young kid to be taking. And out of all these years of blaming disorders and music and violent movies or video games, not once did any of these serious professionals ever blame a split household or bad parenting or divorce or any of those things. Funny how that works, you know? And this last group keeps going for a little bit. So, of course, they had unlimited self-expression until you're not supposed to. But there were two other phases that were similarly damaging. There was a sort of Christian revival or Renaissance phase for them, to where it was only Christian music and nothing else. And I'm not talking about like clean music that doesn't have cursing or swears or alcohol or whatever. But I mean, if it wasn't by a Christian band from the Christian music store, it would get destroyed, and you would be punished for possessing something outside of that. If a movie had anything blasphemous in it, like taking the Lord's name in vain or just the blasphemous concept, it would either go in the garbage bin or get smashed by a hammer. This was VHS tapes at a time, which of course severely limited self-expression, right? And that last group grew more unstable during this time of like Christian, Renaissance or whatever is what I'll call it for their lives. And they turned to drugs and alcohol. When they would get drunk or high, they would listen to music of their choosing, regardless of Christian quality, whatever, at the loudest possible volume. I'm talking 10 out of 10, crank it up to 11, shakes the walls, you can't sleep because my pillow's vibrating kind of volume. That, as a child, I would learn would mean that they were very intoxicated on something. And it was also a very good indication that something bad, violent, or just plain chaotic was about to happen. The police were about to show up, somebody was about to fight, somebody was about to threaten another person with a gun. It was all about to just go, bonkers. So I would lay in bed and listen to this music all night, just like sweating, having no idea what's going to come next. It also didn't help that this was usually country music too, and for hours on end. And you're probably thinking like the sort of pop rock and roll country, like the normal mainstream country. No, we're talking like one redneck in a studio with a banjo just clanging away, and you can hear the little echo because the studio is so small, singing about how his wife loves him more than his dog for hours, just insanely loud. I think that experience is what drove the final nail in the coffin, into my musical coffin, I should say. At the end of that, every conceivable possible positive association with music was dead. Similarly, everything inside of me about music, and a fair bit of self-expression for that matter, just died. It wasn't gone, it wasn't hidden, it wasn't on vacation, you didn't minimize the window, but it was dead. It was done, it was in the dirt, I became completely indifferent to or mildly antagonistic against music. It was either something that's like, okay, I guess that's background noise, or this makes me uncomfortable for a lot of reasons. So I spent the vast majority of my life without a beat, with no music, no drums to march to, just silence. 12-hour road trips of total silence, having people would show me this song or that song or this genre and that chord, and my heart was just dead. It did not respond. It was literally like trying to give a dead horse water. It just splashed out and did nothing. Somehow, cannabis has rewired my brain to give me the ability to enjoy music now permanently. So, yeah, I do that sober, which is nice. And I have no idea how. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know why it works. I don't know how it works. I don't know if it would happen to you or could happen to you. I don't recommend trying drugs just YOLO for funsies. And I still have a very long journey of self-discovery ahead of me because I'm playing catch up. I've missed like 30 years of music and now I don't know anything. I don't have a good musical vocabulary. I don't have a history. I don't have experience. I don't have preconceived notions or preferences on what's cool or good or bad or anything. It's just all blank and I'm playing catch up and learning. So for now, I'd like for you to click the link below that goes to the playlist, and I want you to give a listen to my music and tell me what you think about it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something useful. Not really, probably just learned about how not to raise your kids, but maybe that's useful too. And if you did enjoy this somehow, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.